welcome back to the Watching Now podcast from Couch Soup. I'm talking like this again. I don't know why. This is how I do intros.
What's going on? What's happening? What's that?
This week, it's Daredevil Born Again, episodes 5 and 6. And that's right, it's a double episode, guys. We've got loads to talk about. I'm sure we'll talk about them evenly as well, because one's definitely got more in it than the other one. Not at all. And I'm sure we'll have no disagreements whatsoever. And this will be just a really nice chat among friends that will just agree on everything. Right? Everybody?
Sure. Sure, absolutely.
But before we get to that, let me introduce to you our crew for the day. We have Katie.
Hola.
And we have Tom.
Hi.
And we have me. I'm Ian. Hiya.
How?
There was like a full second between me like saying hello in Spanish and you going to introduce Tom, where it's like you were like, "All right, fuck's sake," and
You know what? Every fucking week, but Tom, I have to cut about 10 seconds of blank space where Tom says nothing after he said.
I've been on fucking time recently. Shut your fucking mouth.
We got a lot to talk about this week, so let's just go into the non-spoiler review, please.
I never write down my non-spoilery thoughts. Is so fun. I just
Sucks to be you.
I just immediately write down all of my actual thoughts about like specific bits of the episode. Well, okay, let's say it this way. The moment I started episode 6, I went, this is why they put episode 5 and 6 together. Because I think episode 6 very much justifies the existence. Well, not justifies, but like there's a reason why the two of them are linked, and it's because episode 5 is kind of on its own.
I'm so lonely, so lonely.
I could imagine if they released episode 5 on its own and then told everybody to wait for a week, people would be really mad. Let's put it that way. So they were like, well, we'll just put this one that we kind of made and we'll put it with this one and it'll be all fine. But I liked both episodes. It is interesting watching episode 6 after watching episode 5 because episode 6 feels more chaotic compared to episode 5 because episode 5 is very clearly, like, as far as I could tell, looks like it's like the first episode that we've had from the previous incarnation pretty much in its entirety.
It's 100% that the director has already said that this is the only episode this season that is completely untouched.
Yeah, you can tell, and I don't mind it. It's one of those things where I'm like, I look at it and I'm like, if this is a look into what the show would have been had they not done everything else, I would have liked this version of the show as well. I think I would have liked it a bit less, but I would have had a good time. But like episode 6 by comparison does seem, it's meatier, but in that way that means it's kind of inherently messier. But again, this just doesn't bother me.
Ladies and gentlemen, allow me to present Man Not Caring.
It's clearly bothering you.
Well, Tom, is it bothering you?
A little bit.
A little bit, eh?
Yeah, these were my least liked episodes so far. I find myself getting bored in both of them. Like I said, episode 5 felt like a completely different series, and I was like, okay. And the fact that it took the momentum after episode 4, at the end of episode 4, just kind of got kneecapped from episode 5. And episode 6 tried to pick up the momentum again, like trying to finally keep carrying on, but then I just feel like the damage was done. Ugh. Or meh.
Go on then.
Right, okay. I'm going, man. I'm going.
Okay. Whatever.
These two episodes are a dichotomy. I don't know if I'm using that word correctly, but we'll see once we get into my thoughts. The 5th episode is so focused, so tight, so completely its own story, and it explains, it slows everything down, and yeah, it's a massive slow down from what we had last week, but I've already put in thoughts that last week was far too chaotic for my liking. So this one, episode 5, was exactly what I was starting to love it again in episode 5, which is completely opposite to everybody else on this on this like podcast.
Hey, I liked episode 5. I had a great time.
And then we get to episode 6, which was all right. It's a little bit more focused than last week, but only a little bit. It was frantic. It was awfully paced. It was so fast. It felt like it was done at 1.5 times speed. The whole, well, not going into spoilers, we basically did a storyline from start to finish in one episode that could have been in like half a season. It was utter chaos again. And that's not what I want. That's not what I want. And maybe that's just where I'm at, is that this series is not going to give me what I want from a Daredevil series. It can give other people what they want. That's fine, but it's not giving me what I want.
It's like, I totally understand. I just don't care.
But I don't care though.
Come on, man.
But do I care though?
Yeah, but you can't.
I don't care.
Like, I genuinely, I do see kind of where you're coming from. I don't think it's as frantic as you think it is, but I can feel the feeling of like they're really pushing in a lot of stuff in a very short period of time. Like, I'm not blind to that. And I've been thinking about this a lot. I think the thing that it means that I can kind of forgive any other misdemeanor that might be going on is the fact that I just love Matt Murdock as a character, and he's so on point in all of these episodes. Like, at no point has he felt like a different person to me. We've had all the like facets of Matt that I love, and I think I love watching Charlie play this character, because I think he is the thing that is anchoring it all. Him and Vincent D'Onofrio when he is around.
I would agree that Vincent D'Onofrio and Charlie Cox, my bad. They are great. Their performances are great. I just feel like so far the writing and the structure of the series lets them down. I feel like they're giving like A or S tier performances in like a B tier show.
And I just think that yeah, again, that they're excellent as actors, and we'll get into the spoilers in a sec. We would just, and their performances, given what they've been given, have been great. I just think that their character progressions over 6 episodes have just gone at breakneck speeds. That we shouldn't be where we're at in this. We shouldn't be where we're at.
I think I might disagree with you a little bit in that I think actually we've been going quite slowly in terms of like tracking where they're at over the course of the season, because we've only got 3 episodes left
of this series.
It's a weird thing, because I can kind of see what you mean, but I could also it somehow feels really slow at the same time to me, where it's like we've only just gotten to a point where they've started to crack, and we're nearly at the end of the season. So I kind of start wondering, where are we going from here?
Where do we go from here?
Which has been the question kind of the entire season, of like, where are we going from here?
What are we doing here? Why are we still here?
What will happen next? Because it's hard to, I think, because it's like getting information from 2 different directions. It's very hard to get because you, at least for me, when I'm watching something, I can usually get a sense of like what the writers are thinking in the room and what their intentions are, even if I don't feel like they've done it to the best. Like, I don't know, even if I don't feel like it's successful. But because there's clearly 2 different visions going on, it's really hard to tell where one starts and one ends in terms of like the storyline of the season. But because I'm sympathetic to that perspective, it doesn't bother me as much. Where I'm like, I can recognize it, and I'm like, it's like my instinct isn't to be like, well, this is stupid. It's just to be like, okay, there was a lot going on here. I think the thing for me is that it feels like every choice that has been made has been done with a lot of like intense thought about it. Like they've tried really hard, and that's the only thing I can really ask for.
But I think the whole like it's two different visions, and that you can't tell where one stops and ends. I think that's probably one of the biggest downfalls it'll be at the end of this season overall. Yeah, they've done great with they've done the best of what they could do with it, but it still leads to a messy end result.
Sure, and I won't deny that.
Yeah, if it doesn't bother you, that's like completely fine, because I mean, it's whatever. But it's getting to a point where to me it's like, okay, I've run out of leeway to give.
No, you know what? That's it. I'm done.
But also, we can talk more about with spoilers. So Ian, take spoilers away.
Yeah, well, let's crack on with the spoilers. We've got quite a lot to get through. Let's quickly cover episode 5 because
we can get through this pretty quick.
I mean, we can because it was so focused, it was so tight. In my opinion, anyway, that there's not a lot of notes I've got for this one. I loved it because it was so tight. It put Matt in a situation where he had to bring the devil out.
Matt's in a situation.
Of course you do.
Of course
I love it when he's just in a situation. It's my favorite thing.
It put him in a
situation.
It put him in a situation where he had to bring out the devil to save some good people, and put in Mr. Khan in there as a sympathetic character. Let's put to the side all the actor stuff that may or may not have happened with that actor.
I only heard vague rumors about this, like.
There was allegations
maybe yesterday, and I was like, "Oh, well, that's news." It wasn't, and I usually am the first to hear about these things.
Yeah,
so
there was allegations, but like I don't know where it went, and I'm just putting it to a side. It was a sympathetic character. Everyone loves Mr. Khan, like in the Marvel universe, right? Apart from Tom, apparently.
He loves his daughter, and he has her own Funko Pop.
Exactly.
It was most like this.
That's most...
We've made this into a Marvel show. It is in the Marvel universe, just in case you forgot.
And it's like the most obvious. It was the most obvious product placement ever. Look at this, the Miss Marvel Funko Pop, custom made. It's
Except that, like, I think the whole point was that it wasn't like. You know,
he had it custom made.
He made that. Yeah. He got that made.
Yeah, but then like you just go into Google and then it's like Miss Marvel Funko Pop, and there's one that like looks near identical.
Yeah,
okay.
I don't hate him. It's just it's
a little cringe.
It's a little cringe, but also like that's why I felt like going from episode 4 to this. That's where I think the momentum of like the story and tone overall just got like fucking kneecapped.
How much you pay for that fake mustache? $2.99. Ah!
It is so funny hearing you say that though, because I'm so used to shows doing that because I grew up on like American crime procedurals do this all the time, where you're like, damn, that was a really intense like story episode, and then the next week they're like looking for aliens in a show that doesn't have aliens. You're like, okay.
I think the difference is in those like old series, and even because when I've watched anime, they do the exact same fucking thing. It's normally like 24 episodes or maybe like 50 episodes. This is 9.
Yeah, no, it is halfway through, choice. And you're
like, by the way, we know we haven't really been getting much plot, and we just started getting momentum for it. But hear us out, St. Patrick's Day's robbery, and then we'll have a bunch of Irish guys going, to be sure, I'm gonna kill a hostage, y'all. And it's like,
do you understand the words that are coming out of my mouth? Don't nobody understand the words that are coming out of your mouth, man.
Wow. Shut up. I know.
We've already established that Tom is really bad at accents, and so just like.
Do you know who's not bad at accents? Charlie Cox.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
Yes.
He's pretty good.
The reason why I like this is it drove a few parts of the story forwards in a really subtle way, like the Kingpin losing control over the mob bosses, which Luca comes back in the next episode and steps to Fisk. I do not fancy Luca's chances by the end of the season.
No.
It sort of undermines Vanessa's. Well, I told him to do 1.58 million type stuff. What was it? Actually, was it Vanessa? But
Yes, it was her idea.
it established that not all coppers are bad because Angie Kim's is a good one. And we'll go back into that into the next episode as well. Where
she popped up and I genuinely was like, is that Detective Yukumara from the Spider-Man games? And then I went, no. But I did recognize her, and I realized that it's because she was in the second season of Our Flag Means Death.
I think she was our friend Jerry's partner in the very first episode in Josie's as well, if I remember correctly.
In what?
In Josie's bar when Froggy died.
Right.
Jerry was retiring. I think he was her
sense.
partner. Yeah, his partner. So we got a bit of that, which we get more of in the next episode as well, where we get the hang on, it's just a few bad apples type explanation on the police, which I'm sure that Katie's got something to think about later. We'll talk about that later.
You got to have like one or two, like
it's a few bad apples.
I think it's more like there's a few good apples in a very bad sea of
there's a few bad apples. He's rounded them all up and put them in a task force.
There's more than a few.
Shut him up or shut him down.
There's a handful.
There is an entire force worth of.
One thing that kind of disappointed me a lot, that wasn't just, what I said before. The fight scene in the stairway where Matt is taken down to the vault after, them recovering whatever. That fight where he killed the guy in the red mask, I thought that was kind of bad. I didn't think it was a strong fight scene whatsoever.
He didn't kill him.
Well, okay, fine. Beat him up. Fine. Yeah. Regardless.
It's kind of very important that Matt doesn't kill anybody.
He did not kill, but he beat up very, very much. Yeah, it just didn't look good. Like, I don't know if it was just like it didn't have like any impactfulness to all the hits. Maybe I just thought it was a bit too slow. I don't know. It was just something about it. Maybe just go, ugh.
There is a reason though that was done in the actual stairwell in like a decommissioned bank, and it was marble on the floors, and they had to be fucking well careful. I'm not saying that's a big excuse because you can do that and make it good, but apparently it was just done without. Usually they do stairwell fight scenes on sets, and they didn't have the option here.
I think the idea behind the fight was very cool, and the way that they tried to present it was very cool. Like, no music, very little sound, so you get a sense of he's trying to keep things quiet and all this sort of stuff, and you're hearing all the little bits and pieces. The issue I've had with all of the fights in this season is they won't stop cutting.
Yeah.
They cut so much you can barely see any of the action, which is one of the many, many things that I'm hoping is going to be more focused next season, because they're bringing back the original stunt coordinator from the original series. I'm hoping that the fights will be a little bit better. My issue with them is there's some really interesting stuff going on, but you keep cutting away.
Stop it now.
Like every single movement, it's just cut.
And it's still my least favorite. It's one of the reasons why I love the original the Daredevil show, because when they did fights, they were often these longer takes, and they would set, and you could see the choreography really, really well. I have 5 bullet points on this episode.
Okay.
And it just is. First episode feels like it's this is the first episode that feels like it was the previous incarnation in its entirety, which you've just confirmed. All counts as a filler episode. I'm not mad about it though. It was fun seeing Matt dipping his toe back into Daredeviling again. And then I went, does it make sense in this version of the story? Not really. No. Do I care? No.
Nice. I
love a bank heist. Yeah. I do. It is one of my favorite, I don't know if you could call it a trope, but setups in things like this. And it would fit if this was a 19-episode season, it would be a perfect episode.
Yeah, if this was the 24 episode seasons, would not give a shit. Yeah. Would be fair enough. But yeah, my thing is You're halfway through. You've barely started telling your story. Why the fuck are we here?
Yeah, the other thing is it's the most Matt thing imaginable to not already be inside, but to walk back in purposefully.
Yeah.
It's not enough
It's good.
to be just like happen to be in the bank when a robbery happens. No. He can hear it from down the street, and he decides, no, I have to walk back into the bank and be in there just to cause problems, because he's a pest, and I love him.
I did enjoy his snark, like throughout the interrogation with the robbers and stuff, and walking back in. That was fun, but that was like the only fun I had really that entire episode.
Yeah, it's the most superhero I think that Daredevil has felt so far. It's the most like just superhero TM, capital S. The only emote I had was about like some of the previous stuff is that Matt called himself an orphan and then made reference to his mother, who, spoilers for season 3 of Daredevil, we find out is actually alive in season 3.
But
he
was
kind of
an
makes
orphan.
but he kind of makes it seem like when he's talking to Kamala's dad in the vault, like she's not around anymore. And now I'm like, did she die? Because that would suck. I don't know. Just it was a little thing, but I was like, but I liked Maggie. She was cool.
She was neat.
The last thing I really want to say about this episode, and I'm fucking gutted that Lily's not here, but that stupid penguin joke she would have fucking loved.
Oh, she would have loved it.
Ah, blimey, he says. I just fucked a penguin.
I laughed, which is a rare thing.
I was dying because I'm like, not of laughter, but like the entire setup. I'm like, oh dear God, just get to the point already. Just get to the point, and just fuck. I'm like, what? And I was just confused. I'm like, fuck a penguin. All right, bet.
I've not heard like the old like what's black, white, and red all over. Like various versions of that joke. You've got a sunburnt penguin or like a nun rolling down a hill. Mm-hmm. So there are other jokes in which penguins are not related nuns. To, but like compared to nurses.
All nuns.
Nuns. Fuck
all
me.
Nuns are related to penguins. That's exactly what we're saying.
Nuns are actually penguins.
What you talking about? What you talking about?
Nun, penguin, like look in a mirror.
I'll take your word for it.
That's just an innocent nun out for a pleasure cruise.
Cool.
I can't believe you've never heard any of those jokes. You guys don't have penguin bars.
What the fuck's a penguin bar?
They're Tim Tams.
It's like
basically.
a Tim Tam, but like in a bar.
But penguin bars have jokes on the back of them. On a penguin bar, there is a penguin on them, but on the back, on the sort of bit of plastic wrapping, there's a joke. So there tends to be like a joke on one side, and then you flip it over and you get the punchline. And they're often penguin related.
When you say penguin bar, I thought like an actual like bar, like a drinks bar where penguins just chilled. I'm like, why the fuck do you have penguin like filled bars in England?
Maybe they need somewhere to hang out and be social. I don't know.
Yeah, that's why I was like, fair enough. Like whatever you Brits do, like that. Okay.
No, it's a chocolate bar.
Okay, that makes more sense.
All right, episode 6 then.
For me, the very opening to episode 6 is probably my favorite thing that we've seen so far. Regardless of anything else that's going on. It was like the thing I have been wanting from like Matt's storyline this entire time. It was like presented to me on a silver platter. I was like, this is what I've been asking for. This is it. I got really emotional with the little flashbacks to Foggy on the night of. I was like, oh, ow. Also, just he's praying. Love seeing Matt be Catholic. My favorite thing in the world. I looked up Saint Ives, who he is. He's praying kind of to Foggy, but he's also praying. He's praying.
He's praying.
He mentions Saint Ives in his prayer. I actually wrote down the whole thing. He says, "Thou did establish Saint Ives as a judge in the midst of his brethren, making him a friend and advocate of the poor. Do thou make us by intercession steadfast in his pursuit of justice, confident in that merciful goodness through Christ our Lord, who lives and reigns in you in the unity of the Holy Spirit. Amen." Saint Ives is the patron saint of lawyers and abandoned children. So Saint Ives is literally Matt's patron saint.
He's on point.
It's good. I love that. That's so good.
That's a very specific saint to exist.
He was he was a French man by the name of
If you
Ivor
don't
of
tell me
Care
his
Martin.
Ives, he better be called Ives because otherwise he shouldn't be called Saint Ives.
His name's Ivo. It's
Ah.
like, his name's Ivor.
Ives.
He was known as Ivor of Care Martin. He was an advocate. He was considered an advocate of the poor, basically. So he was an advocate between, he was a defender essentially. He was somebody who looked after the little people. So pretty much intentionally, he's Matt's patron saint. He's kind of the patron saint of Daredevil as well. So it was a nice touch, and it was sort of the first moment of like true, like, this is the most Catholic that Matt has felt to me this entire season, and I love it. I love the way that Matt played the scene as well. I mean, Charlie, whoops, that was Freudian.
They blur together for you now, don't they? Charlie is Matt. Matt is Charlie.
Well, it's one of the. He's
You
so
both want to
good
give him
at
a
it.
big old hug.
I met Charlie Cox at Comic-Con the first Comic-Con after COVID, so you aren't allowed to touch anybody. So I stood near him, but there was a big screen in the way. I also didn't realize at the time that you could lean up against the screen. I was still trying to leave distance, even though there was a screen. So all of my picture looks so awkward. There's like a full gap. It doesn't matter.
Man, I cannot catch a break.
I love that opening to the episode. It was kind of everything that I've been looking for. But I do think, for me, this episode felt messier than episode 4, personally.
Yeah, I had it written down that it felt like a patchwork of all the different plot threads so far, where they realized, oh, we've got all these different plots. We've only got 4 episodes left. Put them all together, make them somewhat work, go. And that's why it sort of felt like it was moving at like a mile a minute, but then just being so messy. That's what it felt like to me, because I also ended up feeling bored halfway through this one, just because so much was happening, but like it didn't feel like anything was happening, if that makes sense. Like we finally got to get going, and there was all like the thing with like Fisk and like the rich people, Matt coming back to like, I'm gonna be Daredevil again, which I thought that was a bit rushed. But yeah, it just felt like so much, but then nothing in a weird way.
This is the thing. I'm like, sure, you're right. I don't care.
It's like,
I'm like, that's very
that's
good
fine.
criticism, and I totally agree. It's not bugging me, you know. This is the thing where I'm like, totally valid criticism. I hear you, and I validate it.
I hear you. I see you.
I
don't
see
care.
you, but
I have a really big want to pick apart the praying stuff, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to leave it there, and we'll see if that comes back later, because it just felt fine. Whatever. I'm not going to talk about that one. Heather, for example, is pissing me off.
yeah, okay.
Just bin her off, Matt. Just bin her off. Seriously, she's asking for favors with a book now because he might know people. Can you not see it as making him uncomfortable?
Honestly, that shit made me laugh so much. Just like they're like, hey, you know Frank Castle? Like, bitch. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Of all people.
Mm-hmm.
I just love the way he's like, no, I want to see that actually.
Yeah.
Please
Yeah,
pull
okay.
it apart for me. I don't understand him.
Yeah, go
He's
on.
gonna be dead soon anyway. We've only got like another episode.
Oh yeah, this episode I was like, I've never been more sure that Muse is going to kill her.
I fucking hope so.
That's what you get. That's what you get.
Muse is a cool
She's
villain.
fine.
Muse is a cool villain.
Yeah.
I'm gonna say it. Like his shtick, putting blood into his paint and then painting political murals. There's more effective ways of getting your point across and less murdery.
Hey.
But
It's very.
it's
It
evocative.
certainly does it. Yeah, that's a good word for it.
It should have happened in episode 1 or 2 though.
Yeah, it's like they've been threading it like in very, very slowly, but I feel like that scene of him in the that we got at the end of episode 4 should have been there at like the end of episode
2.
maybe even 1 or 2, yeah, where it's like, why did you leave this so late?
Yeah, like you could have had end of episode 1. He's carrying the first dude we saw at episode 4. Then like 2, 3, 4, he's maybe killing someone else, or like slowly tease it out instead of just being like episode 4. Here's
Like,
a guy.
You know
Don't-
how they did it in Arcane, where they had the at the end of like in season 2 with the Doctor, where you got like slowly drip fed little bits more information every time that you saw him. It was like, what's he up to? What's he up to? Oh, he's making Vander into a fucking
that's a better way of doing
werewolf.
Yeah. My complaint in the last episode of our episodes was that we just took up 2 random sandwich scenes in that episode with Muse carrying people at the start and the end. You could have done some scenes right at the end of every episode up until that point, showing that he's like a serial killer and shit. Like, and he's a pretty cool serial killer for a villain. He's pretty mysterious. I mean, he's shit in the way of fighting, because like he's already been like defeated about 12 by Matt in this episode. Going from discovery to defeat in one episode is...
But he's not been entirely defeated.
I mean, he was. He just got away because someone else was dying.
Yeah, but like that kind of is the big point at the end of the episode, really. With the reason why they were showing Fisk giving into his base instincts and Matt showing his, because it shows... It was like to show the ways in which they are extremely similar, and very importantly, the ways in which they heavily depart from each other, because Matt will always save the kid. I was surprised Fisk didn't kill Adam.
Yeah,
he was still alive at the end of it, but like Matt's gonna let go of the like defeating the guy in favor of saving somebody else every time. And I think that was kind of the point of that last like sequence where he you know. And the reason why it very obviously they paralleled it with Foggy's death with the heartbeat and all that sort of stuff, which hurt me personally, but like, you know.
It didn't even affect me.
So when Matt was running to Muse's hideout, like he was down the train track.
That was the funniest fucking thing I've ever seen.
Did that look jank to anyone else? Like that was like
silly. It was so bad.
It's like the Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs like meme where it's just the cop just going.
he was practicing his like perfect Tom Cruise run, and he was like it's that sort of. I do think that it's honestly like it's in a weird way very menacing to have somebody sprinting at you at full speed from very far away.
It's also funny.
It is also funny.
I don't think it's meant to be funny.
No.
Because
But it was funny, which is, I think it's fine. Sometimes things can be a bit silly.
The lead up to it, though, for me, didn't make sense. Didn't make a lot of sense. Like, Ayala's niece, I get why, you know, she's trying to get after... Well, actually, I don't, because she's just like a 14-year-old girl. Why would you go down on your own?
Because she's a 14-year-old girl.
But she's an idiot. And I don't care about idiots.
I don't know if you know this, but 14-year-old girls are idiots.
Yeah, okay, all right. So,
and I say this as somebody who was one.
So fine, you can wave away that one. But then as a 14-year-old girl, do you tell your mum that you're going to Skyborough School and talk to a lawyer friend?
I think you tell your mum that, like, after the fact, like, when you come home, it's like, she probably went, why weren't you at school? She goes, well, I went to go talk to that lawyer. I think he needs to be doing something. Because, you know.
So not in advance?
No. I think she just told her afterwards, and then probably didn't tell her that she wanted to go, like, looking.
She said that she was going to see him, like, before school, apparently. Because that's what she said. So that's why Ayala rang Matt, because... Oh, she said she was going to go and see you. Have you seen her? It doesn't make sense to me at all.
Also, like, what did she expect Matt to do?
No, that was the only thing I was like. I think it's that very specific thing of like. I know that especially when you're that young, it's that thing of like, I know something wrong has been done, and I know I'm meant to tell an adult about it, and he is an adult I care about. I'm not the one who's meant to be coming up with solutions. Somebody else needs to, and I don't trust these other people to do it, and I was trying to trust you to do it, but you said you weren't going to do anything about it. There has been a weird thing this entire season, I have felt, in which there are a lot of people who feel like they're very close to knowing that Matt is Daredevil, but like not knowing about it.
That's what you were going to say, that you're Spider-Man.
No. I'm not Spider-Man.
Like, yeah, that was my like, does she know that, like, he's like moonlights as like a guy with devil horns, or like Because like for all she knows, like yeah, I get the point. Like she wants an adult to be able to do something and someone to trust. But from her perspective, he's just a blind lawyer.
Yeah, no,
What's a blind?
it's a strange thing. My other thing that I did write down was I said I will say, Matt, it was fucking stupid to not immediately pick up on the fact that Angela was going to go down there by herself.
Mm-hmm.
I know he was looking into it, but Matthew, that was dumb. Like,
It's so dumb.
It's so dumb, it's brilliant.
No!
I don't. My point is, I don't disagree. I do think that the setup to it was hammy, but it is just the way it is.
Yeah, like, I get like they had to do it for plot, but like it was like, oh come on, like
it is the sort of thing of like, I also am fully aware. I'm not sure how I would have done it differently, which is the other thing.
Have a missing persons report come out the morning of the niece. It was like, where did she go?
She would be dead by then already.
Oh,
They need
honestly,
they
just
need
kill her.
the no, because they can't have that because they need Matt to save her, because that's the whole thing of Matt being like my thing. I can still help people. Like
I want another death on his conscience, so he had a reason to go and become Daredevil again.
I don't think
wasn't
another
good
death
enough.
would have, like, somebody actually dying. I don't think it would have pushed him to be Daredevil. I think he needs something positive to push him towards a reason to feel like he can save people, so that later on he can have another downfall.
A missing person, which is all that he knew that she was. He didn't know that Muse had taken her. He just knows.
I think
that
he put
no,
two
he
and two
doesn't.
together.
He doesn't know. There was a possibility, but he doesn't know that she was going to be taken, because that would happen
but I
really
think
quickly.
he can put it together that, like, she came to my office. She literally said, "If you can't, like, my uncle told me, if you can't trust other people to do something, you should do it yourself." Like, that should have been the first clue, really. But like, so and then I think it's her mother, right, calls him and is like, "Oh,
She's not come home."
She's not come home. I think I very easily put through two and two together of like, well, she's gone down to those places. If he's down there, that means she's probably in trouble. I don't think he knew exactly what was going on down there, but the likelihood is she's not in a good place. I have to go immediately. Just real quick, in like all of this, first time we hear Matt say "fuck" in the entire series, made me so happy.
One, whenever he said like my uncle told me, I just had like her uncle who works at Nintendo. That has no bearing, but that's just in my head. Two, my bigger thing is how the fuck does he know where Muse's hideout is?
Because she told him.
By the track 61 or something.
She said
she?
her uncle has been looking into it and said that all the disappearances were happening around track 61. It's an abandoned area. And
okay, I missed that.
Like,
because I was just thinking like
there was a lot of things that set up that scene, but they were very they weren't subtle.
Tenuous.
They were the most like obvious little building blocks you could do in order to get you to that point at the end.
I just don't think that a missing person, and that's all she was. She could have just been on her way to the train tracks at this point. Would have been enough to get him to put. That's not the straw that breaks the camel's back to get him to where the cowl again.
Already there with that previous episode. He was
broke
like,
someone's leg. Come on.
Yeah, but like he the whole point was like his deviation from Daredeviling was about putting all of his eggs in the law basket. To put it in a weird way, my
Daredevil egg. I put it in the law basket. I go, this one is in the law basket.
Matthew Mazza, avocado at law, will put my eggs in the law basket as opposed to my Daredevil basket.
Because that one's broken.
Basket.
Oh, look! Got extra large salami. It's going straight in my basket.
So after Foggy's death, he forswore doing anything Daredevil-y. And in the past couple of episodes, we've seen him doing little bits of Daredevil-y stuff, where he's not letting the police do the police stuff anymore, and he's not letting the law take into account all the things that the law can do. So we've had, specifically, it's like the scene with the guy, Leroy, in the jail. And even though you hated it, it had a point. It was there for a reason. Like, it was there to sow a sense of, like, this thing I've been putting all my faith in for the past year isn't flawless. Like, I can't just have
wasn't
all of my
flawless.
eggs in this basket. Like,
Wasn't
that's
flawless.
kind of what that was for.
Leroy was still a criminal, though. Let's not
nobody's saying
let him
that.
off the hook for anything.
But, like, the
He probably shouldn't have stolen those cereal boxes.
were you not listening to him in the
Yeah,
scene?
it's fine. We'll move past this one, yeah.
I think it was all very clear. It's like little bits and pieces that have been set up over the past couple of episodes to him. It's not it's not the straw that makes the camel's back in like a negative way. It's almost like putting himself back together.
Oh, for God's sake, pull yourself together, man.
He's embracing parts of himself that he's been shutting away for a long time. It was that moment after seeing Frank where he got out his stuff for the first time and started feeling that. And I think the bank episode then adds ingredients of him being like, oh, I can maybe at least in this version where you sandwich it between these two episodes, he's going, okay, let me try. I know I can help people. Like, it's the way he says in that conversation with Heather, where she's like, hey, you had a trauma. Are you okay? And he's like, I'm fine. He goes, what he specifically said was, I knew everything was going to be all right because he was there to take control of the situation. So there's a sense of him taking ownership of the fact that he's very good at what he does. And so that moment in that choice where he could have called the police after being once again pointed out that there are many people who do not trust the police and there are many good reasons for why they aren't trusting the police. He said, literally, fuck it. I'll do it myself. That's the reason. I think the moment he actually decided to be Daredevil again is when she woke up and went, Daredevil, is that you? And he goes, yeah, I'm here. That was him taking ownership of it. I think before that he was just putting a costume on.
The thing that bugged me kind of a lot with him putting the mask back and the suit back on is I get it that they've been playing seeds the past few episodes, but they've always felt like the afterthought of those episodes, sort of.
Oh, sure.
Like it was never like the main thing, and just felt like they realized, like with the whole like Frankensteining the two series together, they're like, oh shit, we got to this point and we don't have a progression from Foggy dead, Matt sad to now, and they've just been peppering these little things in. It didn't feel earned in a way. Like I get it, like with episode 4, both the Leroy and Frank Castle stuff, and then a bit with the bank stuff as well. But it just
every time you say Leroy, I hear Leroy Jenkins in my head.
Well, I specifically went Leroy
Jenkins. Oh my God, he just ran in. Let's go.
I know when he went fuck it and put the mask on, I'm like, cool, sick. We finally get some more Daredevilness. But to me, it didn't feel earned, or it didn't feel like we saw Matt suffer enough or be in his feels enough in order to sort of, I don't know, make it feel more impactful, if that makes sense.
I just think there's something, to me, about Daredevil coming less from a place of, like, pain and revenge, and more from a place of him wanting to help people.
Well, see, they could still do that even if he was in his feels, like, a lot. Because I think we mentioned at episode 1 how Foggy died, and we're like, okay, we want to see Matt, like, deal with this proper. But the only time he's done that so far was the last half of episode 4, and now he still hasn't really been sat and like come to terms and then turn it into a hopeful thing.
I don't think that's finished yet, but I do think that the beginning of this episode did a lot for making the end of this episode work for me, personally.
Yeah, I mean, I'm hand waving the stuff at the beginning because he sometimes prays. We sometimes praise.
Mm-hmm.
All the Fisk stuff in episode 6, I kind of, to me, it felt like an afterthought. With the exception of the final scene, which we talked about, how it's like the parallel between Fisk and Matt. I think all of his other scenes, and it's something I felt for a while now, it feels like it's not the main focus, but it just feels like it's an afterthought to the plot as a whole. Because every time he comes in, it just, I don't know, just something just feels off.
I can see what you mean there, but I do think that there is... It's very interesting to me, because I look at it and I'm like, this is the stuff that interests me the least, but it's also some of the... Like, I was thinking about it earlier, and I was like, without this Fisk stuff, this series doesn't work.
Yeah.
it fully just doesn't work at all.
That's why I think it's so, like shoehorned in sometimes, because they've realized we've got all this Daredevil stuff, but this doesn't make sense. Okay, let's do the Fisk stuff to fill in those gaps. And I think that's where, whilst his story is being told, and like, yeah, it's sort of interesting, you know, having a criminal kingpin run the city. I don't think it's been executed that well.
My thing about Fisk is, like, I wrote, again, most of all of my notes end up being about Matt, because Matt's the one I care about, like, paying attention to. So I wrote one paragraph about Fisk. I'm sorry, Lily.
Somebody gon' get their ass kicked. Somebody gon' get their wings lit.
Well, that's also why I just said, hey, Fisk, by the way, we've been here for like nearly an hour.
No, I understand. Where I literally, because I just didn't have the brain power to put it together properly, but I was like, there's some stuff to say in here about Fisk feeling the opposite of how he felt when he realized that when Michael Gandolfini's character, whose name I couldn't remember, so I just wrote Michael Gandolfini in there.
Daniel Blake. Daniel Blake. We've got to get his name right.
His name's Daniel
such a white guy
Blake,
name.
as in Daniel Blake?
Yes.
Okay. Was truly loyal to him, as he does a really bad job of like schmoozing the elite, where it's something about him feeling very small while also like literally getting bigger. And then he's like seeing the reports of the girls who were murdered in the back of his car, like he used to in the original series, where he's leaning more into this sort of mob boss thing again through and through. And it's just something about like there's a fundamental part of him that he has tried to move away from. And I think it's very much tied to the fact that, you know, he grew up poor and now he's tried to move into this position of status, but nobody wants to treat him with any real respect. Or the people who have like built-in status don't see him as one of theirs. So there's like loyalty in like the people who are following him, but like he can't buy his way into like these bigger spaces. I feel like there's more in that somewhere, but I just can't like put it together properly. I'm not sure.
Yeah, he's struggling with the fact that as a politician he needs to sell himself. He can't dominate some of these power players who like he relies on for the funding his campaigns and his initiatives and all of that stuff. He is in a position of underling for the first time in a long time.
He's put all of his points into intimidation. He's got nothing in persuasion. Doesn't know how to do it. So he knows how to bully people, but he has absolutely no idea how to like charm anybody, which feels like the perfect point for him to like lean on Vanessa more. But again, Vanessa doesn't really want to do any of that stuff because she wants to do all the criminal stuff. So I don't know. There's a lot in that. I just don't have. I don't know. I don't know if it's I don't have the brain power to put it all together, or if it's just like not entirely clear to me within the text yet exactly what I'm going for, or if there is another point that I'm going for and that just hasn't been revealed to me yet. But like that's as far as I've gotten.
I would say that's how far they've gotten as well.
Yeah. Okay. Cool.
I have a feeling that they're trying to tell this Fisk story in this way of like I said being an underling for the first time and everything. But I feel like it's not going to be answered this season. Maybe not even next. I think it's I doubt it that they have thought that far ahead with this. If they have, bravo, I'm wrong. But I have a feeling it's going to be one of those things where it trucks along and then to a certain point goes, okay, forget about that mob boss.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Agent K. Ladies and gentlemen, if you will, look right here.
It's the last point for me on this episode. I don't know if anyone else has got anything, but like last point. So on the vigilante stuff, we got the vigilante stuff. We got the anti-vigilante task force that somehow Fisk has managed to wangle, even though they're after a serial killer and not a vigilante. It doesn't fucking make sense. But you know, fair play to him. He hates vigilantes. I
was going to say it's a very political move to be like, I've decided to give completely free powers to the most dangerous people in the city, and I'm going to sort of color it in a way that suits my agenda. Mm-hmm. Horrifying scenes, frankly.
Yeah. Yeah, I don't disagree. Those bad apples from the NYPD in one little place.
Woof.
It's not great. To be fair, that Powell looks like a good guy compared to some of those people in that place. I don't know if he'll end up being it.
But we know he's a prick.
Yeah,
no,
he's a prick. He looks like a good guy compared to other people, is what I said. Not that he's a good guy, just compared to other people.
He looks like he certainly looks less intimidating.
I just think that he's more questioning about what the fuck is going on here. Like, in his head, as we've all said, that he is entitled to be the good guy because of his family heritage. I think even him is looking around him and thinking, I don't know about this, guys.
I think you're reading into that in a very.
I took it at the end where like they were giving out the vests and stuff, and he looked at the guy and just went, "Oh." I thought that was him going, "Okay," and just going along with it.
That is a man who's already tasted power and is going to love every fucking second of what he gets to do next.
Yeah, fine.
And if I get to see Frank kill a bunch of motherfuckers, I'm going to be so happy about it.
That's my fear with this, that they'll show up in episode. These guys won't show up until episode 9. They'll do a thing, and then it'll be teasing that Frank Castle will be in the first episode of season 2.
No, there's more of him in this season.
There is?
Yeah,
okay.
So there was another trailer that came out, which showed a couple of scenes of him doing full Punisher stuff for this season. So.
Are they going to? But is this task force going to kill Haley Steinfeld's stepdad, the swordsman?
Oh yeah, the swords dude.
I knew. I was like,
Bishop.
Right.
Bishop's
so
stepdad,
this guy's been in stuff before. I don't remember where he was in Hawkeye. You're right. He is. Okay. Yeah. Thank you.
That's why he's so staunchly against Fisk's anti-vigilanteism, and that's why he's not going to pay any money for the Red Hook redevelopment or something.
Wasn't he a bad guy?
No.
Yeah, he was assumed stuff. He was assumed bad guy, but not real bad guy.
Okay, been a minute since I watched Hawkeye, so
yeah,
same.
I did not remember that. Good to know.
What was that? I don't know.
It looks familiar. Then I googled afterwards. I'm like, oh right, that guy.
Any quick final points?
I just had a bit on the final scene. Matt would no forgive or go for the kill when there is a life on the line. So of course Muse got away in exchange for him saving Angela's life. And then I said, one could say divine intervention.
One could. I don't see it, but one could. Okay, right, there we go. So that's our spoilers, guys.
Might be a bit of a stretch to say divine intervention, but like one could see a divine hand in the fact that her heartbeat was stopping just as he was about to kill somebody else.
That's the spoiler section. Let's go on to our episode rankings.
I didn't vibe at all with these episodes, really, in the grand scheme of things. I still think the performances are still great. I think Charlie Cox and Vincent D'Onofrio are still doing the most to save a lot of parts of this series that I thought otherwise would just be bad. But yeah, if I wasn't doing this, like this podcast, and week to week, I would have checked out a while ago and just waited till everything was out.
Damn!
And just binged it then. But yeah, so both of them together 4.
This is so harsh.
Maybe you're not harsh enough.
Oh, yeah, sorry. Not harsh enough, did you say then, Tom?
No, I've just seen worse things.
So have I. That's why it's a 4.
Episode 5, 7.5. I think. Episode 8, 6. Why did I say 8? I was going to say 8. That's why. Too many numbers. Yeah. As much as I think, because episode 6 did more, in terms of like, especially that beginning to episode 6 did so much for me in terms of like what I've been looking for this entire time. I think I'd put it as, I think I'd stick it at an 8. Like a flawed 8. 8 with caveats.
8, but here's a list of dot points of why I'm justifying this.
Kinda, yeah.
Me, I enjoyed 5 a lot more. So I would have given that, if we were ranking them separately, I would get that the same as UKT. I would give that one a 7.5. That episode 5. Episode 6 is frankly frantic and unfocused.
Frankly, Frank Castle.
So
what you trying to do, bud?
yeah, I don't know what's going on. Like,
I think you had a bit of a stutter there. Like,
so yeah, I both together probably ends up at like a 5.5, like a 6 maybe, if I'm stretching. So better than last week. Whether I'm in a better mood, just in general, I don't know. But yeah, 5.5. No, it's sad. It's just not delivering exactly what I want, and that's fine.
because we're not Catholic.
I'm having a great time.
Oh, good.
I love
happy.
Matt Murdock so much. He's my boy. What an absolute dumpster fire of a man. I love him.
I'm happy for you. Yeah. All right, that about does us for another Watching Now Daredevil Born Again. If you liked us, do us a favor, subscribe to the channel, rate us on the podcast platform of your choice, become a member of couchsoup.com and help out independent creators like us if you can possibly afford it, please. And join us again next week for another episode of Watching Now Daredevil Born Again. I'm sure we'll have a lovely time. All right. Thanks, everybody. Bye.
What did you think of the Marvel Doomsday announcement thing? Because I thought that was dumb. Like in general, like I know Ian, you said in your article that like, oh, it's cool but dumb. But I just think it's dumb.
It was cool,
I didn't
but dumb.
like it.
It was.
I didn't.
Here's the thing. It was a genius marketing ploy. It was genuinely, whoever came up with that deserves a raise because it was brilliant. When you think about it and the effect that it had, brilliant.
Yes, 100%.
People spending 5.5 hours watching just director chairs.
Exactly. If you can get people that interested in a movie that clearly a lot of people were not going to care about, that is a way to do it.
Yeah, but I think
It had
for me,
people talking. That's the whole point of it.
But to me, it just shows that like they're doubling down on like the cameos.
Oh, for sure. Don't get me wrong. It's
like,
the most transparent bullshit I've ever seen. I just think the way in which they've done it was brilliant, from a marketing perspective.
At what point is it too many cameos? At what point is it too much? Remember this guy.
Stop spoiling people surviving in films that haven't come out yet.
They don't care.
I don't care. I care.
Yeah, but they don't care. That's the thing I think needs to be understood. They don't care. One could say divine intervention.
One could. I don't see it, but one could.
One could see a divine hand in the fact that her heartbeat was stopping just as he was about to kill somebody else.
One could.
Sure.
That's the spoiler section.
This is what I'm talking about. None of you fuckers are Catholic. You don't understand.
Well, there you go. That's why you're here.
No, that's the spoiler.
I told you that is why I'm here. I'm here to bring the Catholic's perspective.
One could. But it's the spoiler section. So that was the spoiler section. Let's go on to.
All right, there's more parts.
For fuck's sake, there's one more part. Stop it!
Calm down. Happy place.
Happy place. Happy place.
We're all friends here. Just calm. Breathe in. Breathe out.